Hi, my name's Denara, and this is my module summary 6. This is the delivery of the module, so you can look at that. So chapter 13 focused on motivation, and it focused on the kinds of motivation, such as intrinsic motivation, which is the things that motivate us from inside, so such as interest, or a task that you want to get better at or you want to complete. So those are the kind of inner things that get you motivated to do things. And then extrinsics are the environmental things around you that get you to be motivated to do things, such as rewards, physical rewards, um, parents giving you approval or praise. So that kind of stuff. So intrinsic and extrinsic. And then chapter 13 also talked about the development of goals, and it talked about the development of achievement. So achieving things, being school-wise or completing tasks, stuff like that. And then social goals. So, making friends and feeling like you're being accepted into a group and all that stuff. And then future goals. So planning ahead of time things that you want to achieve when you get older, and there are certain steps you have to take in order to reach that goal. And then the all along, throughout life, there are multiple goals. So dealing with all these goals that are wanting to be done. And then also talked about influences on motivation. So gender being one of them, and then also culture being another factor of that. And then it also talked about, self-regulation and what motivates, what intrinsically motivated, so children are intrinsically motivated to do things when we, with self-regulation, when they, learn how to impulse control, and then also learn how to delay gratification. So stuff like that. And then there are extrinsic ways for motivation that deal with self-regulation, such as applying rules and all that good stuff. Um, and then it also talks about how to motivate children or youth or young adults. And then basically this chapter was just kind of like a recap for me, because I did learn about motivation when I was in high school, and we talked about it a lot at work, like when we do trainings and stuff like that. So just learning like the different kinds of ways of like what motivates people, and not just kids, but what motivates people. Like, are they motivated by rewards? Are they motivated by um, their interest, or, wanting to have achievement. So that kind of stuff. And then reinforcers were a little new to me, but it was more of a recap. And then I was able to take away, even though most of this information was something I already knew, it's just, it just really emphasizes the importance of knowing like what motivates kids, like, are they motivated on their own to, achieve, um, you know, things in school, or, are they only motivated because they know they're going to get a reward? So I think that it's really important to understand why your children are motivated to do certain things. So I think that's what I took away from this chapter. So chapter 14 dealt with moral development. So it talked a lot about, you know, influences our identity. So personality, you know, most people, with identity and personality, some people think that they're, what's the word? Um, like they think that they're pretty much equal. And then family can help with identification, peers and friends, school and community, culture, and then also what time era you're living in, and then basically like understanding people through your own perspective. And then it talked about the ethical identity, where like more moral development like helps develop a sense of membership and belongingness in ethnic groups, as well as it develops the attitudes and feelings one attributes to that group. And then theory of mind, I believe we did talk about theory of mind in a previous chapter, so this was kind of a recap for me, with the ability to understand the thoughts and intentions of others. And then theories of moral development with Kohlberg, with the three levels of moral development. So there's the pre-conventional with the two stages, which is the punishment and obedience, and then the instrumental purpose. And then the second level would be the conventional with the two stages of good boy versus good girl, and then social order maintaining. And then post-conventional, which is the third level, which is social contract and universal ethical principle. And then Gillian, her study was more focused on girls, and then it also, talked about, like the, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought, the idea of justice and compassion and values and all that good stuff. And then the chapter also talked about like what influences moral reasoning. So these are kind of like what I kind of just picked out, which were personality, child rearing, so how the child was raised by their caregivers, and then schooling, their peer interactions, social interactions, which I think is really important because as you get older, kids start to become more independent and want to be with their friends. So it makes sense that friends, in a way, have an inner influence on one another's moral development. And then culture and religion, I think those are really important because religion, obviously, there's a lot of steps when you follow a religion, which, influences how you live your daily life and how you and what you believe in. So, and then culture, what's socially appropriate, what's socially acceptable, rules and laws and such. So, yeah. And that's, oh, sorry. And then what I learned from this chapter, I learned a lot about the theories in Kohlberg and Gillian, and I really liked how they expanded the whole idea of moral development from what it originally was, because now it's more of a broad topic because they brought in all these factors and all these aspects of moral development, that a lot of people didn't look at. So with that being established, there's more information that is available for people to understand more of like what moral development is and how it, develops. And I think that what I'm going to take away from this chapter is that I can look at moral development more of like a bigger picture rather than just like, oh, moral development, that's all it is. Development of morals. No, it's more, there's just a lot of things that make this development more complex. And I think that by understanding how moral development works, I can better understand why children act in a certain way, or, why they may say things to other kids, and it's all about, their how they were raised and their beliefs and values and such. And I think with that understanding, um, I think that understanding between a teacher and a child will make that relationship work. And that's all I have. Thank you.